Recording in progress. There we go. Okay, so hi again, everyone. Thank you so much for making time to join us today, recognizing that for many of you, this may be your lunch hour that you've kindly given up to be with us. Yeah, we hope to make the next 90 minutes or so as engaging and valuable and helpful to you as possible. So got lots to cover, and now we'll dive right in. Next slide, please.
Awesome. Thanks, Roger. So again, thank you for joining us. Welcome back to those who were here yesterday, and then welcome to anyone joining for the first time today. Before I pass it back to Roger, we'd just like to take a moment to show our gratitude and respect for the land that we are on today and for the people who have resided here before us. So we'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam Indian Band, Swasin First Nation, Katzie First Nation, and Kwantlen First Nation. So thank you very much. And thanks again for joining us. And I'll pass it back to Roger to get us started.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah. And please do feel free to put your own land acknowledgement into the chat, should you wish to do so, as a way to express our appreciation and gratitude for being on First Nations land. A few housekeeping items. As you heard, this session is being recorded, and the recording will be shared afterwards for others to use as a resource. So FYI on that. Questions as we go through today's session. If you do have questions, feel free to put them into the chat. We can answer them in real time or parking lot them towards the end. I think most of us will find today's session to be much more participatory compared to yesterday's. We do have small group discussions planned. And so, feel free to raise your questions during those discussions as well to get your peers' thoughts and insights in real time. As mentioned, we will be having breakout rooms. I'll talk a bit more about how those will be structured in just a second. But really the main emphasis for today is to please participate. Yesterday was more of a United Way and Campaign 101 topic where, there was a lot of information being presented to the participants, and it was probably safe to kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy the show with some popcorn. But today's session is much more peer-to-peer participation based. So to put it mildly or to put it plainly, you're going to get as much out of this session as you put into it. So by participating, by speaking up, by sharing your ideas and experiences, you're going to add value to your fellow campaign volunteers, and they'll be able to do the same for you as well. So please participate, and please look forward to the discussions. And lastly, when it comes to the discussions in the small groups, it would be preferred if you could put your camera on and obviously have your mic on as well, so we can hear what you have to say. That just helps everyone to communicate more effectively. When we regroup into the large room, understandably, you may not want to keep your camera on or to leave your mic on, that's fine. But if you do want to speak up during the large group, you're welcome to put your mic and your camera back on. That's it for housekeeping. Thanks.
Thank you. So your session facilitators for the day are myself and Roger. Roger is the one who was just speaking, and I'm the one who's speaking right now. But we also wanted to thank our fellow campaign managers for their help and input. We appreciate them very much. So thank you, team, for helping out in the breakout rooms and afterwards as well.
Yeah, and just on that note, following the session, should you have follow-up questions, should you want to access the resources that we make mention to, do please connect with your campaign manager. And if you do not know who your campaign manager is, reach out to Jen and myself, and we'll be happy to direct you. So the way we've structured today's session is around 4 key topics or sessions. We put ourselves into your shoes, so to speak, and wondered, by attending today's training, what would I, a campaign volunteer, employee campaign chair, for example, hope to get out of today's session? And I think one of the biggest questions on everyone's mind right now is, now in 2021, sort of 18, 19 months into the pandemic, into work from home, how do we keep the campaign fresh? How do we keep the campaign engaging and exciting and interactive, so that people are interested, so that people will engage and participate, and therefore make the campaign successful? And in that mind frame, we've created these 4 topics that we think will enhance and increase your overall engagement levels in your campaign. So We're going to dedicate breakout room time to each one, and to give you a quick idea of how they'll look for each of these topics, Jen or myself will take 2 to 3 minutes to introduce the topic, what some of the key points are about each of these elements. And then we're going to dedicate 10 minutes of peer-to-peer small group discussion time. Based on previous year's feedback from participants, that's what was most valuable, is to have that time for everyone to share their ideas, to cross-pollinate, and to really get their thoughts out there. So there'll be 10 minutes for discussion. And then afterwards, the small groups will come back together, reconvene into the large group, and have about 7 or 8 minutes where the ideas will be shared back to the larger group. Each small group will have a campaign manager present, at least one, if not two, and that campaign manager will serve as a facilitator for the discussion and also as a note taker to collect the thoughts that are being shared. And again, can't emphasize this enough. Please participate, don't be shy, speak up and share. Just to avoid having too many speakers at once, the awkward situation where everyone's trying to speak, but we're trying to be polite about it because we're Canadian. Please use the virtual raise your hand button, and that will help your CM know who wants to talk, and the CM will call on you. Overall, I, as the host of the meeting, will stay out of the meeting rooms. I'll keep track of time. I'll give everyone warnings, and I'll also post some opener questions in the chat box as well to get the conversation started. So without further ado, we will jump into the first one, really open it up with the topic of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Roger. So your United Way campaign can be a great way to boost staff morale, to build stronger teams, because it brings people together and builds awareness and excitement. So the more you inspire your coworkers about United Way and to join in, the more success you traditionally have. And one of the best ways to do this is by having some fun. So we chatted briefly about it yesterday, and we'd like to take some time now to go into it a bit more detail in a couple of ways. One of which, as Roger just mentioned, is to talk specifically about events, and he'll be taking the lead on that in in another 20 minutes or so. And then the first way we wanted to is in this next breakout session, which is all about fun. So we want to get our creative juices flowing, and the kind of questions that we want you to ask yourself, besides maybe jumping up and down like these people are doing jumping jacks in their office, or perhaps having somebody with whipping cream or shaving cream on their face that people throw cheese balls at. I really want to try that game. The other way is to think of what kinds of events or activities did you attend or do this past year or 18 months where you had lots of fun. So I'm not talking necessarily things that you did for campaign last year, but just fun events or experiences in general. And then how can something you experience be adapted into a workplace activity or something you can do for your campaign? Can you take those fun experiences and turn them into a fundraising activity or an engagement piece specifically for your campaign? So we want to think outside that proverbial box and just come up with some different ideas. So for example, myself, I know a lot of people did them, but we, as a group of my friends, we did cooking nights, and we would all take a turn creating a menu, and then we would all get the ingredients and we would get together because we couldn't see each other in person, and we would and do those cooking nights together, and we had a blast. And we did maybe have a few drinks that we imbibed as well. So sometimes we came up with an appetizer and a cocktail. Sometimes we focused a lot on the cocktails, and then other times we actually ate some of the food too. But we had lots of fun doing that, and it was a great way for us to connect. So things like that you wouldn't necessarily do. And I know that one in particular was actually used quite a few times in campaigns. So without further ado, I will let Roger break us out into our breakout rooms, and we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes to review what you guys discussed.
Excellent. Okay, so the teleport device is primed. I'm going to send everyone to their breakout rooms now. And just a disclaimer, when the rooms start, you might have 1 or 2 or even 0 campaign managers in your room. I'm going to adjust that. So give it about 30 seconds after you're teleported, and you should find at least 1 campaign manager in your room to help facilitate and take notes. Okay, thank you, and have a great discussion. Okay, welcome back. Breakout rooms are officially closing in 5 seconds. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I hope that was a relatively seamless experience, and I trust the discussions and conversations were lively in each of the breakout rooms. It was a very quiet and lonely time for me out here, so I look forward to hearing from the CMs. If I could get the CMs to report back on the different ideas and experiences being shared. And how about I'll just call on CMs. We have about 7 or 8 minutes to share, so each CM will have a minute to win it with your ideas, so to speak. Amber, you're on my screen first, so can I call on you, please? No, you're muted right now, so okay. If
You
not,
caught me sending a message and I couldn't get back to the mini screen to unmute myself. So Murphy's Law, right? So one of the things that we had discussed is virtual flowers, because one of the organizations used to actually, or one of the partners used to send out flowers. Sometimes they would be delivered to United Way staff. Sometimes they would be delivered to other businesses or people in the office with a note. So we were kind of had a discussion around having it virtual as opposed to the actual carnations and what that would look like.
Very nice. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and yeah, great way to bring that personal touch to the virtual, work from home kind of world, right? So that's great. Thank you, Jack. Oh, sorry. Were there other ideas, Amber?
No, just that we had mentioned about networking with other businesses within that, right? Like what that would look like if you were sending it to other businesses too, with a note as to why you're doing this. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks. Jack, I see you on my screen next.
Yeah, so we talked about a variety of different activities. So we've seen everything from managers raffling off services for yard work to CEOs being forced into doing the grouse grind at campaigns, and then even to TikTok challenges. We even talked about some campaign activities from non-virtual years where senior executives got in net and people were able to shoot hockey style on them. But we kind of just then shifted the conversation just to activities that people were engaging in COVID. So socially distanced gatherings in parks, and then people doing step challenges, which we kind of naturally shifted the conversation to climb up, just because for those workplaces that were having difficulty coming up with a distanced activity, they could just piggyback onto to climb up this year. And yeah, that's kind of where the conversation went.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely a variety of virtual and distanced activities being discussed there. And great plug for Climb Up. Again, United Way BC is running Climb Up starting September 23rd. It's operating in the Lower Mainland and Fraser Valley, as well as across other regions in BC. And it's a peer-to-peer step challenge and fundraiser as well. So we'll post the link in the chat shortly for that. Thanks, Jack. Andrew.
Thanks, Roger. We had some good conversation. We had some folks in our group from Neptune, Odlum Brown, and BC Hydro. So a good variety of campaigns. We talked mostly about virtual opportunities and some fun that we've had more so since COVID has started, because I think most folks, not all, are probably leaning more towards a hybrid or a virtual campaign this year. So we talked about the online cooking classes. We talked about the cooking challenges, I'll say, and how they're fun to watch, they're fun to participate in, and you just want to make sure they're inclusive for folks. So it's easy enough to log on, turn your camera off, turn your microphone off, and just kind of sit there and watch. But if you can be engaged, whether it be in the chat box, whether it be commentary, whether it be whatever that can look like throughout. Amina mentioned that a few years ago at her previous workplace, they went up to Richmond and they did the golf carts, and it was just a fun way to be outside and get everybody doing something different. So by all means, like renting a separate space, whether it be a mini golf course or whether it be go-karts or anything like that, is totally something that you can do. And a lot of the time, if it's for something for United Way, then they'll give you a good rate on the space, or sometimes even for free. those were two of the big ones that we talked about, which sounded pretty fun. And I'm very pro cooking challenge, obviously. My whole team knows that. They're my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Andrew, you participated in one of our cooking challenges in the internal United Way campaign, and yeah, you're right. It's a ton of fun. And yeah, to the other points, looking at now that things are opening back up for this year and the remainder of this year, looking at venues to host certain activities in a safe and outdoor manner could be a good way to up the fun factor. That's great. Who else next? Jen Cowden, I see you on my screen. Would you mind? There we go.
I'm desperately trying to find the unmute button. Thanks, Roger. So we talked a little bit about the kind of things that some of us had done. There was Carol had mentioned doing a race of some sort, which we didn't quite get a chance to finish talking about that. We were busy chatting away, but Climb Up is an example exactly of that. And then we talked about some of the different things that we happened to do. And then our focus was also on that last year, it was hard to maybe bring in some of the fun because there was so much stress on people, and because different jobs were changing so much and just the way things were being done. So they had to be cognizant of the fact that they couldn't necessarily make everything as fun as they would normally have made it because it was just a different world, and hoping to get back to be able to doing some of that, but adapting those things like the cooking and the virtual races. Wine Survivor came up as well as a specific kind of event that people have done in the past during campaigns. And then there was one other one too, Jenny. I actually have forgotten what the other one was, but do you remember what that one was, Jenny?
On my list I had bingo, poker, and wine survivor.
Oh, bingo, yes. Poker, yes. Those two. Fun.
Excellent. That's great. Those are great ideas. Thank you. And Morgan, did I call on you? I don't think so.
Yeah, our team had some ideas that one was online Pictionary, or it's called Drawful, or Telestrations. So those ones all got us involved. And also we some ideas were Flex It Friday. So like the plank challenge, but also some wall sits, or each time doing a different exercise. And then a word play where it's like 3, 2, 1, and you say a word, and whoever, kind of linking those words each time, like say they're totally different words and finding like how they're not so abstract, and then keep counting down to get closer to the same word. And then like a white elephant exchange, so bringing anything from your house and just kind of having fun with that. And you can always kind of give your pledge form, like fill it out, and that's your entry, and then you partake in the activity. So lots of good ideas. Pumpkin carving or costume, like Halloween costumes as a party and as part of the competition for this most scary, the most creative. So yeah, full of good fun times.
That's great. Lots of good ideas in there, and fun times, as you say. I like the sound of Flex It Friday. I support it for sure. Although personally, from my own personal work from home fitness level, I might not be able to do as well, but that's awesome. Okay, so thanks everyone for being so great for sharing your ideas. We're going to move on, and this is a great segue to the next topic, really, which is around events. So Jen will change the slide here. There we go. That's the perfect picture of a workplace campaign special event. And yeah, a quick overview. The events really are, I think, the crowd pleasers of any campaign, right? We hear from our partners time and time again that, hey, every year we run sort of signature events that our staff and our team love and look forward to. And yeah, again, it just boosts morale, boosts excitement, and also opens up another avenue for fundraising as well, in addition to employee pledging. So when we think about workplace campaign events, there are definitely advantages or pros. As mentioned, really great for getting people pumped and excited. Yeah, really great at getting people involved and participating as well. So, perhaps some people feel disconnected from the campaign. They're not paying attention to the emails, but they will pay attention to the Wine Survivor or Flex It Friday or whatever. So a great way to get people's attention and get them involved. A great way of fundraising as well, bringing in dollars, should you decide to charge people to participate in events or to pay for certain items and things like that. And let's face it, just a great way to make memories around each campaign. I think the other side of the coin for special events and workplace campaign events are some potential pitfalls or disadvantages, right? Depending on the event, it can take a lot of work to put together. Some require a lot of coordination, a lot of communication, and just a lot of sort of logistical support to actually make happen. And we know from last year, especially with the virtual sort of work environment, that threw a lot of curveballs for people trying to wrap their head around how they can run certain events in a virtual manner. There is a risk of what we call nickel and diming, right? That if you have especially numerous events over the course of a campaign, people might feel that they've made the entirety of their donation through events, right? That they don't really have to give perhaps through the employee pledge anymore because they've already donated $5 at event 1 and $10 at event 2 and $6 at event 3. So they feel kind of tapped out. And that misses on the overall potential of their gift. And one more sort of disadvantage or a potential con to consider is fatigue as well. We're all running up against that. I would say all organizations are running up against screen fatigue and just overall work fatigue, as the work from home work schedule can be quite demanding in its own way. And so to try to inject events in addition to demanding work schedules can leave people feeling a little tapped out and a little burnt out as well. But if you're able to balance the pros and the cons, workplace events are super effective for all the reasons mentioned just now. And especially if you pair them with different incentives or prizes. Some of them could be tangible prizes, maybe actual products and items and electronics that people can win. Others can be intangible, maybe time off or just simple bragging rights oftentimes is incentive enough. So there are different ways to structure incentives and pricing. So that's the overview. I'm pretty sure all our partners present here today are quite familiar with events. And so let's do it. Let's dive into another breakout group. And here we're going to really drill in and dig into events when it comes to your campaign. So again, these are opening questions. You don't have to feel like you have to answer every single one, but just to get your juices flowing here, what are the campaign events from your workplace campaign specifically? You might have already brought them up in the first chat session, but then talk about which ones are the most popular or most successful. When it came to those events, what were the objectives? Was it to get people participating? Was it to raise money? Was it just to have good times? Maybe all of the above. And if you're comfortable sharing, were there any successful that didn't pan out the way that you planned, that were not as successful? What were some of the reasons for that? And maybe give some thought to how your events are going to work this year when it comes to your organization's work environment. Will it be entirely virtual? Will it be entirely in person? Some sort of hybrid in between? All of that will have an impact on how you run your events. All right, so firing up the teleporter again. And again, we're going to randomize the rooms. So hopefully everyone will get a chance to chat with someone new this time. And away we go. There we go. Welcome back. Apologies if I cut anyone off in the middle of sharing, but we're reconvening here in the large group talking about your workplace special events. Also want to do a quick check. I've been sending out broadcast messages, with the opening questions. Has everyone been receiving those, or have they disappeared into the ether?
I see them.
Oh, great. Excellent. Good. Okay. Just want to make sure that function is working and everyone's getting my little love notes containing the discussion questions. Okay. CMs, would love to hear what was shared in your groups. Could I call on, let's see, room 6 had Chelsea and Norman in there. Chelsea, Norman, could one of you report back to us?
Hi, yes, so most people in our group did a prize draw. They had prizes based on the different levels of giving. And then they, some of them also did some cooking classes, and some of them did, what was the other one? A gift card survival. But yes, everybody had a virtual campaign last year and plan on doing the same this year because they were all quite successful.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. The prize draws linked to pledge donations is a great incentive to run for a campaign. Some of those prize draws could be framed around early bird or leadership giving, so giving up to or beyond $1,200, or perhaps an increase in donations, right? So for an employee or a supporter to give X% more, to increase their donation by X% this year. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Vishad, room 5.
Thanks, Roger. Our conversation was super interesting and I thought it was super engaging. So thanks everybody who contributed. Some great parts that came out of it. And so we have also a few questions which we thought we'd ask in the bigger group. So firstly, when it comes to what type of events done in the campaign, we've heard of Halloween events. We've heard of the plane toss. We've heard of the pizza parties, virtual and non-virtual events. Some of our conversation was the fact that we found that the non-virtual world worked better because you knew people were engaged, they were present, you could feel the excitement of the room, so you knew it was an absolute success. On the other level, the virtual events sort of worked because people had more time to sort of be there and be present for them. Objectives, and this is also came out through a really nice question here as well when it came to the objectives of the event. So we had a nice mixed conversation. So we had an objective where it was participation and just having people engaged and be part of it. A good question came up on the donation aspect. I had one of our bigger accounts in our virtual breakout room, and the question came to, if we had all these numerous events and we found they were not generating a donation aspect, they were just a good time. The devil's advocate question is, should that money that is spent on those events not be donated back to the charity instead of being spent for that good time? So it was a question posed, and if you have any answers, I'd love some input on that.
Yeah, great question. So, to recap, if an event is not geared towards raising funds, if it's just to, bringing people together and have a good time, would the budget for that event be better served being donated instead, right? Is that the line of questioning? Great. Cool.
Correct.
Yeah. Other CMs, feel free to chime in or thoughts. I don't want to monopolize the conversation here.
I'd say that there's a.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say that I think there's a lot of value in bringing people together, and I think even if it were not, United Way, we also run an internal employee campaign, and we usually run it in the early parts of the summer. And we've had events that didn't necessarily bring a donation aspect to the campaign. It is a very crucial part of campaign, but if there is an opportunity to bring people together, whether it be over food, which is something that we talked about in our room, whether it be a happy hour, whether it be a learning opportunity, I think there's a lot of value in that. And I think one of the main reasons that people run a United Way campaign, in addition to supporting community, is that employee engagement piece. And so that employee engagement piece, you might not see it at, on the dotted line on the end when the donations get rolled up, but I think that employee engagement is really invaluable, and I think it's a great employee building opportunity. And then by default, because it's probably likely during the United Way campaign, people talk about United Way. Oh, what did you think of the speaker? Oh, what did you think of the event? Oh, I haven't made my donation yet. I need to log on and make that donation. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, so just to echo what Andrew was saying, I think that it's also an opportunity to talk more about the United Way campaign. It's a touch point for people, so you can once again encourage them at that event, even if it's not specifically a fundraising event, to go and donate. So it's another place to be able to ask one-on-one, even if it's in a virtual way, hey, have you donated to the campaign yet? And so it's an opportunity to do that in a group setting, even if it's virtual. And I do agree that it's valuable to provide the opportunities to bring those people together. We had lots of fun with our campaign. And because it was our first year as United Way BC, it was an amazing way for us to get to know everybody throughout the province. So one of the events we did was a scavenger hunt, and I can't talk about it enough because I loved it so much. And I know it's terrible, hey? I'm ad nauseum about my scavenger hunt that Norman and I did. Anyways, and it was just a really engaging thing for people to provide photos. We had over 500 photos submitted. It was just a great way to get to know people. And when you are not able to see them in person, to be able to connect with them that way, to see the books they're reading, to see where they go for a hike or a walk, or what their favorite breakfast is, and exchange recipes and things like that. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. Good thoughts. And yeah, agreed. Sometimes, it's tough to put a price on employee engagement, right? And sometimes you don't necessarily see the fruit that is born by the seeds that are planted when it comes to engagement, but definitely can pay dividends when it comes to, again, bringing people together, and also having donations come through later in the campaign as well. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on time. We still have two more groups to go, two more breakout sessions to get through, and I want to ensure we have enough time for both. So might I ask the CMs who haven't had a chance to share, if you could just pop some key thoughts or notes into the chat, right? No need to write, Wikipedia article, but maybe just some standout events that you came across in your discussion and put them in the chat. We'll be sure to capture them in a follow-up email as well. So I hope that's okay with everyone. Let's switch gears to our third element of engagement, which is around impact. And Jen, I'll pass it to you.
I can talk with my mute button off now. Once again, I'm using my animations. Impact.
There it is.
So first thing I wanted to say about impact was this one is about seeing, creating, and sharing impact. So we're going to discuss a few ways for each of those sort of items, as well as specifically impact speakers, virtual tours potentially, and blogs and videos that can be shared. But basically what I wanted to say is that for close to a century now, United Way volunteers have gone above and beyond, and whether it's volunteering in their communities, in the workplaces, or as part of the cabinet or the board, they have helped strengthen the vital connections that are so important and supported those in need throughout the province. A couple of quotes that I really wanted to read: that to all our United Way volunteers and to all who stepped up to help those in need in our community, we say thank you. Your compassion has been critical to making sure our community's most vulnerable not only received the support they needed, but felt connected and cared for. And that just goes hand in hand with doing workplace campaigns as well. Another quote: for us, volunteering is a great way to give back to the community. Many people require extra assistance, and volunteering makes us feel good personally because we know we are making a difference in the lives of others. So through the I Volunteer platform, almost 3,700 Metro Vancouverites stepped up to help almost 4,300 groups and individuals, specifically in that case for food hamper delivery, friendly phone calls, and yard work. And that was in the past year, so during the year 2020. And a lot of that was workplace campaigns, workplaces who provided volunteers for different opportunities. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, the creation and how you can see that impact, and then the sharing of the impact to your coworkers. So volunteering, like I just talked about, and then we'll talk a little bit about impact speakers, virtual tours, blogs, and videos. And then we do have some questions that I will actually try and post them in the chat as Roger goes through the teleporter system again.
Thank you. So you can expect to see the questions come through in the broadcast message, but I'm going to open up the rooms now and have at it. Thank you. Excellent. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had fruitful discussions around impact. So here, yeah, we'll get to hear, oh, stop the timer here, that's screaming at me. Get to hear from the CMs again, and maybe I'll call on the ones who didn't get a chance to speak last time. Jenny from room 6.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Roger. We had a couple workplaces in our team, and we talked about a few things. We definitely talked about videos, utilizing stories that are on the United Way website during virtual tours, as well as some volunteering opportunities that are available. Speak to your campaign manager about that. And we really talked about impact speakers. Something that I've seen within my workplaces is getting as many impact speakers into your meetings as possible has shown like a great result. So finding out what the smaller team meetings are, like whatever is within your schedule, ask for 5 to 10 minutes, and then ask United Way to come in, and we can bring in an impact speaker during that time to kind of share a reason for a campaign. We've also done that virtually. I know I've had a workplace that was over 8 floors, and we just did it rapid fire in 15-minute increments where we just hit every single floor, and we're able to talk to a number of different people pretty quickly.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. Time and time again, year after year, what we hear from our partners is those impact speakers are so crucial to sharing real life stories, real life examples of how donations and support from the community help members of the community in need, right? So nothing can really substitute the impact speaker, and that's why we make them available as a resource each year, both as live presenters as well as pre-recorded videos, both as in-person as well as virtual. So definitely communicate with your campaign manager to schedule as many impact speakers strategically where possible for your campaign. Christina, I don't think we heard from you last time. May I call on you? Or not? You can leave me hanging.
Sorry, I'm having
no problem.
one second here. I'm having problems with my Zoom here. Yes, I participated, but you know what? Jack was kind of the one who facilitated and ran the session. So can you see me? Or so maybe I'll let Jack take it over. He's the one who was the note taker.
That's great. If you could kindly step in, Jack, thank you.
Yeah, I can jump in. So
Thanks, Jack.
We talked about impact speakers, and it was kind of interesting. So we had, I was talking about that at one place, in person goes over really well. And then we talked about from the aspect of, a virtual impact speaker enables, more participants, across the province in different locations that might not have been involved or able to participate. So kind of a few differences in terms of how the approach goes across. And then we just kind of switched the conversation to things that, would like to be seen in terms of impact materials. And I think people just brought up, more provincial numbers and infographics just with our new structure since amalgamation, just to be representative of, all the communities that we're now involved with. So yeah, that pretty much kind of covers everything we talked about.
Yeah, great point. And that's one that we'll take away with us as CMs. On behalf of United Way BC, now an organization that oversees, regions and communities across the province. Yeah, we need to do a good job of storytelling and sharing impact for all of the regions and communities that are being served. So that's a great point. I think we have time for one more CM to speak up. Could I call on Jen Cowden?
You sure can. So I made everybody listen to me talk about some volunteer opportunities, but then we definitely did talk about impact speakers and how that was one of the most effective ways of sharing impact and getting people to understand the work that United Way is a part of, and really encouraging people to help donate as well. So impact speakers is a big part of our conversation.
That's excellent. Yeah. And on the topic of volunteering, this was touched on a little bit in session 1, but we are and continue at United Way, we continue to support volunteer opportunities out in the community. So whether it's for individuals or for corporate groups, we are supporting the volunteer activities. Some are virtual, some are in person, some are sort of a hybrid blend of both. And so, I think mobilizing volunteers within your workplace as part of your campaign is a great thing to do and a great strategy, and we can support that on our end. Excellent. Well, thank you all. Again, CMs who didn't get to share, if you can kindly post some key thoughts and ideas in the chat. I am copying and pasting those into a document, which we can then share after this meeting. Thanks. So next slide and last slide here, we're on the home stretch. We're going to talk about affinity groups. We'd be remiss if we didn't spend a bit of time chatting about affinity groups. And the definition of affinity group is quite simple. So essentially groups of individuals who share a common purpose or common interests. That's it. So, why are they important to a campaign is that, if by spending some time to think about affinity groups that are present in your organization that engage in the campaign and in identifying what sort of priorities those affinity groups have, you can better develop strategies that target and engage those people. So as an example, again, there are all types of affinity groups, but some that United Way has identified and worked on in the past include leadership donors. So leadership donors are giving at $1,200 or more. Beyond just the dollar figure, what that communicates to us is that these are like-minded individuals who are willing to make a substantial gift, really, a $1,200 or more to support and to help their community. And so, by working with leadership donors as an affinity group, you can come up with specific strategies or tactics to communicate with them, to steward them, to make them feel appreciated, to make them feel recognized, and to secure and increase their gift as well. Another group could be what we call Gen Next, or some organizations identify them as like a young professional network. So these would be generally workers who are under the age of 35, quote unquote millennials, and they have different priorities when it comes to giving, right? Maybe at the start of their sort of career journey, they're not able to make substantial gifts, monetary gifts, but they do want to get involved. They do want to volunteer their time. They want to roll up their sleeves and make a difference hands-on, right? So when it comes to that affinity group, there are different strategies and ways to engage them. So we have leadership, we have Gen Next, we have retirees, so those who are on sort of the opposite end of the career journey, who are nearing their retirement years or just starting in their retirement, and also Women United, so female philanthropists in the workplace, and those who are supporting the community. So those are just examples. For your organization, you may have any of those 4 affinity groups present. You may have others. You might have an affinity group that is centered around yoga. Who knows? But the point is, for this breakout group, to spend a bit of time to think and to chat about which groups are present in your workplace, and how could you customize elements of your campaign to engage those groups. So there are the opening questions. I'll recreate the groups now. Thank you all so much for being such good sports and participating in these breakout groups. I hope the chats and discussions have been beneficial and helpful to you. And we're going to do one more here on the topic of affinity groups. So thank you all so much.
We have Gina and Jenny. And is there anybody else in the group here?
So Gina is a guest account that hasn't been joining any of the groups.
Okay.
Yeah, and where did I assign you to? Oh, there she is. Sorry, Gina.
I'm just spying in and listening, but
Yeah,
admittedly
fly on the
right now
wall.
I'm making my lunch.
Yeah, totally good. Just trying to make sure
Wow.
these rooms make
Cucumbers
sense.
are not that good. But yeah, nice job, guys. Very nice job. It's just because UBC has joined it and they want to talk to me about stuff tomorrow, so I thought it might be good if I half listened.
Thanks for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing it. Bye.
Bye. Enjoy your lunch.
Okay, I gotta move Morgan to room 1 then. I think what's happening is that a few people are signing off around this time, so I've assigned them to rooms, but they're not quite there yet.
Don't put Christina in a room by herself because she's not on. She's not on.
Yeah, fair, totally fair.
I mean, that's already started.
I'm trying to move Jen here. This is sort of the tricky part of the process where I'm just on the fly dispatching people to different places. Great. And Amber, you are assigned to room 1. Are you good to join there, or do you want me to move you somewhere?
Sure. Yeah, I'm good wherever.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Just move.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back. So sorry to cut that session short, but we are just running up against time here. I don't want to keep anyone beyond the promised 1:30 finish time. But very quickly, yeah, if I could ask if any CMs talk about Gen Next as an affinity group in their chat, could I hear from a CM if you talked about Gen Next strategies or campaign practices?
I can chime in here, Roger. We spoke about Gen X. I spoke about one of my accounts personally where we are pursuing a Gen X component for this year's workplace campaign. It's at SFU. We spoke about introducing the Gen X to the student body. We have a presentation next week. They're very excited about it. And it's a component of bringing students, again, who will be our next philanthropists in time to come, and a new lens on Gen X.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, I'm curious to know beyond the sort of 4 standard United Way affinity groups, leadership, Gen Next, retirees, and Women United. Did any chat groups come across other affinity groups?
Yeah, I can jump in, Roger. We have some great shares. So UBCO has emeritus, like they're retired professors, but also Henning at London Drugs shared really neat kind of ways of saying there's different nationality groups and cultural groups, as well as aspects of that shift work, whether people live a lifestyle around different shifts and whether their donation can help specific to their community for, you know, kind of fitting that cultural needs. And the communications can go to that, whether it's Gen X because they're students and they also only work part-time or whatever amount, and finding supports within each of those groups, like the champions for kind of like so many different ways to layer it and to kind of bring people together on their commonalities.
100%, that's great. Yeah, I really like those perspectives and angles and ways, as you said, to identify commonalities, be it around cultural or ethnic groups, and also even just work shifts, right? And that can dictate, yeah, a lot of commonality between different groups of employees. So very, very interesting ways to look at it. Thank you. So we are out of time for the chats, but again, thank you all so much, CMs. Yeah, do put your findings and your observations in the written chat box, and we'll collect those. And before we sign off, did want to bring it full circle and put a bit of a plug for a United Way specific platform called Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud. Seems like every webinar has a plug at the end, so here it is. But really, this one is great. I love it. So Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud, SPC for short, is a United Way developed tool. We partnered with Salesforce, as the name suggests, to create this platform to facilitate exactly what we've been talking about, campaign engagement, right? So, you know, there's so many different elements to enhance and create engagement, and SPC actually brings it all together in one place. So it would replace paper pledge forms. It would also be an evolution to electronic pledge for any of our partners currently using the United Way e-pledge system. And it would, in one place, allow employees to make their donation. It could be a monetary donation or it could be a tracking of volunteer hours. And as you can see in this screenshot, it would show up right there on the top left under the progress bar in the shape of a heart. And from there, the platform can be customized to your campaign as well. It can show a timeline of the events, so it's all in one place, and the different stories that pop up in the carousel underneath there. Over time, there's an algorithm in SPC that actually learns each employee's preferences and interests in the community. Is it helping kids? Is it helping seniors? Is it helping other causes? And then that carousel will be populated with stories and examples and impact pieces that pertain to their specific profile. So all in all, a really great tool to, yeah, again, consolidate and enhance engagement in your campaign. And by all means, if this is something that you're at all curious about, please get in touch with your CM and we can get you more info. That's it. So we're pretty much out of time for questions, but do put them in the chat. We will make a note of them and loop back through email if there are any sort of follow-up topics that get brought up. But on that note, Jen Cowden, have I missed anything? Have we missed anything?
Nope, I think that covers everything. We got our webinar plug-in and we covered all the topics, so that was fantastic. I just want to say thank you to everybody for their participation, and thank you again to the team, all of our campaign managers, for their participation and their help in facilitating everything as well. We had some really great conversations and some really great ideas that came out of it, and I'm excited to see all the notes afterwards too. So thank you for putting those in the chat.
100%. Thank you all so much for making this session productive and successful. And again, don't hesitate to be in touch should you need any type of support for your upcoming campaign. Wishing you best of luck, wishing everyone and hoping everyone stays safe and enjoys the rest of your summer. Thank you.
Thank you again, everybody.